Hello, everyone. Welcome to our MasterMine for GoldMine webinar. We have a few people that have attended that have showed up so far, so we're just going to wait a few minutes till we actually start the webinar. And while we're waiting for the webinar, I'll go ahead and explain what you're seeing on the screen here. You may or may not be aware of the analogy of the blind men and the elephant, where people actually, a bunch of blind men show up around find an elephant, come across an elephant, and they are all trying to figure out what the elephant is. They each touch a part of the elephant and they think they know what it is. Somebody touches the trunk and thinks, oh, it's a snake. Somebody touches the legs and thinks it's a tree. And in a lot of ways, GoldMine is very similar. There are many areas of GoldMine, and you typically only touch on one or two parts. You have different opinions and thoughts of what GoldMine is, and we'd just like to kind of take this time while we're waiting for people to join us and for the webinar to start to find out how you feel your GoldMine, how you feel about your GoldMine, how you really use your GoldMine, and how it applies to you. So at this time, while we're waiting, if you would just post on your GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar screen here in the questions, just let us know which of the blind men are you in this elephant scenario. Do you see it as a headache? Do you see it as a way to store your data, for customer service, a sales tool, marketing tool? Just feel free to post them in the questions dialog. We have a few more people joining. Welcome, everybody.
Carnegie, I think it's probably a good idea to mention that people are still joining us here, and just to sort of reiterate what Carnegie is saying, we put up this slide just before the webinar actually starts here. But as you're joining us, take a look at this image, and I'm sure this is a story you're all familiar with. But think about what GoldMine means to you, and we'd like to invite you to go ahead and put in your question dialogue. In the GoToWebinar dialog that's on the right-hand side of your screen there under question, you can actually put in your own comments. We just want to invite you to suggest, what is GoldMine for your specific company? What's it about? And then we're going to just give you a couple of minutes here while the rest of the attendees join us. It looks like they're mostly here by now, but we'll just give you like one more minute to answer that question and just put that up in the question dialog.
Looks like we have a couple of people looking at like this is a way to store data or sales tool. Some say it's a bit of everything. Very true. So great to have the feedback. And again, welcome to the webinar.
All right, and it looks like we have
I think that's about it.
Enough people to get started.
I think so.
How we're structuring this webinar is we are using your registration questions and the questions we get most frequently about the software to drive where the conversation goes for this webinar. So if you have an idea or something that comes up that you want us to cover, be sure to enter it into the question dialog, and Paul will make sure that Rob covers it. It is only a half hour, so we're going to, it's going to go pretty quick. And if we don't cover something that you asked us about, we will make sure to reach out to you and cover it. So right now we will switch over to Rob and Paul, and they will start with a little bit of background on MasterMine for you.
Thanks everyone for joining our webinar this afternoon. We're going to start off with some questions about what MasterMine really actually is and what it can do for you. And Rob, first, if you can just generally tell us how MasterMine fits with GoldMine.
Okay. So MasterMine is a tool set that works together with GoldMine at the management level, typically. And what MasterMine does is give you the ability to interact with your GoldMine data in Excel. And the fact that it's in Excel is a really useful thing because most people are already familiar with an Excel environment. But it also sort of replaces what people often do, which is to export information into Excel so they can work with it. But what I want to indicate is that it never actually leaves GoldMine. You're really working with your GoldMine in a very hands-on way to do reporting, to manage the actual GoldMine data, by which we mean actually, in some ways, you can even mass update the information from GoldMine that's in GoldMine if you want to. We'll touch on that here later. But it's really a set of management tools that give you that ability to interact with your GoldMine data and really make use of it, as opposed to just simply, feeding the beast, pushing information into it that you never actually make good use out of.
And Rob, why do we need it? Why do I need it? Why is this better than just doing reporting using maybe the built-in report writer or Crystal reports? What about GoldMine dashboards?
Well, so the report writer that's built into GoldMine, we've worked with GoldMine for 15 years here at MasterMine, and the report writer that's built into GoldMine is something that I have very rarely seen a company just stay within. In other words, there are some built-in templates in GoldMine, but those templates are really address just the standard fields that are built into GoldMine. They don't touch the custom fields. It's not a very user-friendly interface for actually designing reports. Usually what happens is people have gone to using outside products like Crystal Reports or SQL reporting services sometimes, and those outside products really require you to know a lot about the GoldMine data structures, and they require you to be really more of a programmer. That just takes reporting, and it takes the using of the data completely out of the hands of the actual people who need the information, so it creates this huge disconnect, so that people sort of forget that, hey, this is our data, or my data. I should be able to use this to manage my salespeople or to manage my day-to-day activities in some useful way that goes beyond just the kind of built-in structures that are built into GoldMine. What MasterMine does is open that up for regular end users so they can actually make use of their data, as I'll illustrate here in a moment.
So with that said, who actually uses MasterMine within a company? Is it for the IT department or just for the sales secretary?
It's actually for everybody who uses GoldMine. If you're using GoldMine, you're using it because there's some sort of interaction that you have with your customers with that information. It's not just a one-way. I need to a one-way information flow where you're just adding fields into GoldMine. It should be a two-way thing where if your job involves, let's say, entering into GoldMine demographic information about customers, you probably need to have that demographic information back out in some useful way that's not just about the particular record you're looking at, but maybe that goes across all of your GoldMine records, or so that you can do things like, as a marketing manager, analyze who are all of our prospects that we got from certain sources, who are the people who should be getting one marketing message versus another, and be able to address those as a body in some efficient way. And again, that's what MasterMine is going to allow you to do.
Excellent. So MasterMine covers a lot of possible information needs we know with all things that GoldMine touches. Maybe we could talk about some specific areas that our attendees said they might be interested in as far as how MasterMine might apply to GoldMine, or just problems that, in general, they'd like to solve with GoldMine. There's a lot of requests to see how you handle basic reporting with MasterMine. Can you create a sample report from GoldMine that includes data from the contact area? and might show us some different ways a user can organize it into useful information.
Okay, so this I'll do a sample report here with GoldMine. Whoops. Let's see if we can go ahead and I'll actually just create a new one here. So I'll create a report that looks at main contact information in GoldMine, and just do this as an example. We'll come back and talk about maybe some of the other areas that are in GoldMine. You might want to report on the activity that flows in through your calendar and the pending and completed activities and so on. What I'll start with is just ways of using information from GoldMine, and know that whatever I show you here really applies to anything that's in GoldMine. What's most impressive here, I think, is really just the fact that you can very easily get the information available to you at your fingertips and start to organize it in a way that's useful. I'll create a report here of main contact information, company contact, and maybe some of our key fields here. I'll also go and get the primary email address, the phone number. I'll go over here in my list here. This is a long list of fields. These are all the fields that GoldMine automatically stores at the contact level, and I'll get a couple of additional fields that are user-defined fields that are listed here. I want to illustrate with this that even if you've customized GoldMine, you may or may not have done very much customization, but whatever your customization is that you have done will automatically just show up right inside MasterMine, and it's very easy to get those custom fields and the data that goes with it into a report. So I'm going to call this report that I'm going to create. Now we name it a report. It's really an Excel workbook that's going to have the information available to us. In fact, I'm going to call it Main Contacts Workbook, and I'll hit the Finish button. Before I hit the Finish button, I'll just point out everything else in GoldMine is available to work with in very similar ways to what I'm doing.
Can you explain what you mean by contact level?
Oh, okay. So contact level information usually, your GoldMine database keeps a lot of information that relates to individual contacts. There's the name and address and phone number and all of the things that that are attributes of the contacts themselves. And then there are things that go beyond that in GoldMine, like the calendar activities that relate to the contact, but for which there can be many, really a many-to-one relationship. So we're not dealing so much with the things that are down on the tabs within GoldMine in this report. We're dealing with what's above this line, but also the sort of extended information that GoldMine allows you to keep, usually on a tab that's called Fields or some such. So I've created a report that pulls the contact information into GoldMine here. We actually have 351 account records in GoldMine here. You might have 30,000 or 300,000 in yours. That's fine. This will work just about as efficiently either way. This is just a little demo database that we have to illustrate the concepts of working with MasterMine. So what's happened here is the records for that data have been pulled into into Excel, and we're going to illustrate how to present that information. So in this case, we might take our account records, for example, and break them down by record type. The reason I'm going to show you this is just to illustrate here. So record type is this key field that's in GoldMine. Most of you have a field that's in this position that's called contact type or record type that really helps you differentiate the types of data that you track in GoldMine. I'll pull the record type field in here just to sort of illustrate how a user might look at this, and break down my database just by dragging a field in here. I've broken down my database by record type. So I see how many customer records do I have, how many employee records, how many past clients, and so on. Now, that's a report. That's a very simple report that if I were to go and build this with Crystal Reports, I might have spent 10 minutes or 15 minutes getting this set up. From here, though, this really accelerates. And every move that I do, every way that I have of looking at my data can be accomplished with just a drag and drop rather than having a programmer redesign a report for me. So for example, let's focus in on, let's say, my prospects. Now the first thing I might notice here is that I've got several different kinds of prospects. I'm actually going to draw these together into one item. Now they're not kinds of prospects really, they're just misspellings of the word prospect. And again, one of the great things about MasterMine is it shows you what you have, not just what you expect to have. Whoops, I've got another kind of prospect there. I want to include that into the group as well. So all of those are my prospects. Excuse me. And I'll just build a report of my prospects, of all of those different types. So I've pulled them together into one, but I really want to do, let's say a nice line listing kind of a report where I show the company and the contact name and let's say the phone number and the email address for each one of those. As you see, I'm dragging and dropping fields into a report here. And again, the work that I just replaced by doing this, I made this very easy for an end user to do a report on this subset of just the prospects from my database, even though there are multiple kinds of prospect, multiple ways that prospect is expressed in our database. And I've laid it out in some useful, in this case, detailed line listing layout. I'll do another version of this quickly that's more of a summary kind of a report. Take this detail back out again. And my summary report might show me for my prospects, well, where did they come from? What sources do they have? Well, here's a source list. And again, I just broken out my database by source. But in this case, maybe what I'll do is show what account manager are they assigned to. Again, account manager, sales rep, some field that you've got in your database that indicates who do these leads actually belong to, so that you can go ahead and track down where did they come from and where have they gone to, what have the users actually done with them. MasterMine makes it easy for you to do that. So in a matrix kind of report like this, I can see of my prospects, how are they assigned to my different account managers? Well, and for that matter, what sources did they come from? This gives me a very quick territory overview of what's in GoldMine. I'll take this a couple of steps further and show you that not only is this a reporting mechanism, in other words, not only can you drag any field that you want to into here and very easily make a report out of it, hopefully you already see ways that you can save lots of time and lots of user effort to see information like this, but also this links back to GoldMine. So we haven't cut our ties back to GoldMine here. We extracted information into Excel, but we're actually still live linked back there. So any of the information that's beneath any one of these numbers, all I need to do is double click on the number to see those records that are behind that number. It could be any of the total numbers or it could be any specific parts of it. So for example, I'll take Lori S's 10 customer referral records. When I double click on the 10, I immediately see the detail that's behind those 10. That's just a new sheet inside of Excel here. And as I mentioned, we're still tied back to GoldMine. So if I, in my report, I need to know not only the information that I happen to include in the report when I created it, but maybe I want to actually go to that record and take an action based on what I've learned in my report, take an action like fix data or take an action like make a phone call, whatever it might be. Accessing back to GoldMine is this immediate, again, because we're still inside GoldMine. If I double-click Jesperson and Company, it goes right to that GoldMine record, and I can make that call or send that email or do whatever the appropriate follow-up is based on what I learned in my report. This kind of an integrated reporting with GoldMine is just simply not available to you in any way. Even the GoldMine report writer, the built-in GoldMine report writer, doesn't have that kind of a loop back for you to allow you to take action.
Rob, we got a great question from somebody, and they're asking, can MasterMine be used to build filters back in GoldMine?
Yes, well, not to build filters, but to build groups to accomplish basically the same thing. So in other words, if I'm looking at my MasterMine report, and let's say in this case I've drilled down and I've got 10 records that are listed as a result of my drill down, and again, the drill down is a selection mechanism, right? So it's basically the same thing as doing a filter in a lot of ways. I've filtered it now on ones that have some version of the word prospect here and that are Lori's and that are customer referral, whatever. Once from that drill down sheet, I can then go and say, well, let's go build a GoldMine group from those and call this my target group or whatever it's going to be, or say call it send an email or whatever you're going to do with that. Then when I say OK, it actually goes over to over to GoldMine and builds the group from which I can then do my activity. I think I called this target group. There it is. There's the 10 that are in that group. And then I can proceed with my regular GoldMine processes to send an email, to assign those calls for somebody to call, or for that matter, go back and make a MasterMine report that's really focused on just that target group that I did. This is really useful, by the way, when you do marketing segmenting. If you've got a sales manager who needs to segment the database, you can use those functions inside of Excel to really home in on just the segment that you want a certain marketing message to go to. Then either go back to GoldMine and send out your emails, or export from Excel to Constant Contact or to some external marketing vendor. You just send that sheet out to the vendor. They do the marketing activity, do the mailing, whatever it is, but you've still got your group back on the GoldMine side so that you can track them over time. You want to know, well, based on this marketing activity, what were the actual results? Well, if you've got your group back in GoldMine, that group never goes away. You can use it as a basis for doing reporting, for setting up follow-up activities, for doing the next marketing activity, whatever that's going to be. So having this integrate with your GoldMine grouping functionality is, well, obviously really powerful.
So really you're actually doing your filtering in the MasterMine report. I mean, that's kind of the core way to do your filtering, rather than going through the complex operation of trying to build those filters in GoldMine.
Oh yeah, the equivalent of actually building a filter or a query on the GoldMine side is a programmer function. It's not something regular end users can do. This is something that any end user should be able to do.
Okay, so without going into a lot of detail about any particular part of GoldMine, can you just say how we might look at other areas of GoldMine, like maybe sales tracking, opportunities, and so on?
Sure. We took this one example of doing the contact level information, but as I mentioned, anything else that's in GoldMine is available. And one of the things I want to point out is this reporting engine for GoldMine is built specifically around GoldMine. This is not a generic thing that works with any old CRM, that works with any old database. This is specifically built around GoldMine so that a user who recognizes the labels of the parts of GoldMine itself right here, you can tell that when you go to pending, you're talking about things on your pending tab. What's on your pending tab in GoldMine? It's calls, appointments, forecast sales, and so on. If I want to do reporting that goes across pending and history, it's that easy to just check on the boxes and include what parts of GoldMine I want to do my report from and hit the finish button, and that would give me more reporting on that one. One example I think I've heard from of the people who are attending this that were interested in forecast sales. This would be a way of doing a report. Actually, this would be both pending and completed sales from GoldMine in one report, which is a really useful thing for sales management, of course, because then you can show both what's upcoming as well as what have people actually accomplished. And as long as you're tracking the right information to do this on the GoldMine side, this becomes a really useful sales management report. I'll go ahead and create this one. Maybe call this report our sales activity, or call it our sales sales report. How about that? We'll say finish, and it will generate now again another Excel workbook that has our sales activity both in completed as well as forecast sales. So this is done. I'll open this up so we can see it. This is showing all different products in our demo database here. We've got various different kinds, but you can see this is pending sales, these are successful sales, these are lost sales in 3 different columns. How you go ahead and present this is again up to you, because you can drag the parts around and show different things. So if I want to just show, for example, our standard products and ignore the ones that are done a different way, I might focus in on those, call our group standard products, and then use this both as a filtering mechanism as well as a way of just getting our report to show the parts that we want to do. So standard products, and maybe we want to focus in on just our pending sales, but show them by the user who's going to bring the sale in. Pretty easy manipulations within the report to get what I think is, again, a very powerful view of what is actually happening in GoldMine. So as a sales manager, sales administrator, or actual salesperson, you can actually see your funnel, know what's happening with it, drill down on any part of it to make sure that what's in GoldMine it actually accurately represents reality, and then use that information in some useful way. Maybe build a chart out of that. And as you can see, making a chart out of MasterMine information is really easy. I just did that with 2 clicks. I made a nice product by product graph of, and this can all be arranged any other way that's useful. It's a product by product graph of our forecast sales in dollar amount, by dollar amount, but we might show it by number of each product we think is coming up, by probability. Any question that's occurring to you right now that's floating through your head like, well, can you do so-and-so? Can you do so-and-so? Chances are the answer is yes, because we've been doing this with GoldMine users for 14 years, and we've pretty much heard all the questions and either built the answers into the product or made it so that we can, for you, manually attach it to whatever kind of information you want to work with.
So this seems very simple and very easy. How can MasterMine be used to manage and maybe update the data itself? Is that possible?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I started to illustrate was easily getting back to GoldMine records themselves. I'm going to switch back to the main record or the main report here, just because I think it's visually a little easier to understand. Let's suppose I've got records here that need to be updated on the GoldMine side. One of the things I illustrated was drilling down for the detail that's behind any number here. I'll drill down on this 52 here because that gives me a fair amount of data here on my screen. So what it's showing me here is these are actual records in GoldMine that are all available to us in Excel to update and push the changes over into GoldMine. So any field from GoldMine that you can include in a MasterMine report can also be optionally, now this is not for every user, this is for selected users, very carefully, for security reasons, locked down to selected users, but within that capability to extract it and show it is also the ability to manage the data on the GoldMine side. So if I'm looking at a report here and I want to take all these, and I'll just do this as an example, maybe I want to change the account manager on this record to Nancy H, and I want to change it on this one to Bob K, and in fact I'll do this. I'll just use my regular an Excel drag and drop. So this is an Excel change right here. All I've done is change it on the Excel spreadsheet, and I can push those changes right back into GoldMine, and that would automatically change, in this case, 40 different records all at once with one move. It's actually using this little add-in part of MasterMine called Updater that allows me to push those changes back over to the GoldMine side. If I hit OK, I would update 40 records on the GoldMine side automatically that quickly. And as a user, in order to learn how to use this, one of the things to point out here is we're just using the Excel spreadsheet. Anybody who's worked with a tool, a database management tool that you use to do mass updates in a database usually requires that you be kind of a programmer again. You have to know how to write SQL queries, or you have to use some sort of complicated interface, or learn to use that complicated interface to update your database. Well, the main part of doing this here is just changing data on a spreadsheet, which any user can know how to do. But again, we lock down the actual final updating of the database itself on the GoldMine side so that only select users can do that work. But it's very user-friendly. It keeps a record of the changes, even allows you to undo those changes if you make changes and you decided it was a mistake. I want to put them back. It actually stores those changes so that as a user you have really unprecedented control over the actual database. Paul, you still there?
Sorry, I was actually muted. Can these reports run automatically every day?
You can set up MasterMine reports that will just that will just run every day and show up on a printer at a certain time. You can do a scheduled print. That's something that we frequently get asked. Another thing we frequently get asked is, well, can I take a snapshot of that report and send it to somebody else? Yes, again, very easy to do. And a third thing, which is not common with report writers, is you can actually share reports from here. So any report that I set up, I can immediately just share and set up so that another user within my company literally just has to click a button to have that same report come up for them in Excel, interactive with GoldMine, fully operational, and current as of that moment, just by hitting one button on the GoldMine side.
And Rob, how can people learn more about MasterMine?
Okay, I see. We're at the end of our half hour here already.
We are.
So to learn more about MasterMine, what I would encourage you to do is, we'll put up a slide here in a moment that shows my information, but our website, mastermine.net, gives you a pretty good explanation of what MasterMine is. You can also download a trial version of MasterMine. What we encourage you to do is, MasterMine is really powerful, easy for end users to work with a little bit of training. And when I say a little bit of training, our initial training that you get when you buy the software takes about an hour to give you that that feeling of, here's what's going to happen when I drag and drop. Here's what it's going to look like in Excel. An hour's training in MasterMine gives you the capabilities that a 2 or 3 day session of programmer training on Crystal reports might do for you. And even then, it doesn't give you, because MasterMine capabilities go so far beyond what you could ever do with Crystal, it actually gives you a great deal more power, again, with just like an hour online working with us. Beyond that, so our contact information is up on the screen now. Beyond that, you may decide that you want to do a lot of reporting for yourself, and that's great. We've made it very user-friendly for you. If you would like to go an even more efficient but a somewhat more costly route, we can do report writing for you using screen sharing and GoToMeeting. So you could have, starting tomorrow morning if you want to, you could have this capability working with your GoldMine database and experts doing report writing for you right away. Just simply, you just say the word, and installing MasterMine takes about 10 minutes on your side. You get free support from us in getting everything technically set up the way you want to. In most cases, you can do the installation without even our help. Then we can quickly, sort of in combination, train you and make reports for you as part of the package when you buy MasterMine. If you just buy the software, you can just run with the software. If you buy a package that includes a little online support, a little online work, we think that that's probably the best way to go, because it gives you a fast start. And again, you can learn more about MasterMine at mastermine.net. Our prices are all printed there, by the way, as well. So you're looking at an investment of somewhere between $795 for just the bare minimum software, up to $4,000 or $5,000 at the top end to give the appropriate capabilities to all the people in your organization who might need it. Plus some intervention from us if you want it in terms of report writing. So we're not talking about a huge investment compared to the investment that you have in GoldMine itself. You don't need to buy MasterMine for every GoldMine users. We've been asked that before. You only need to buy it for the people who will actually use and share reports. But one of the things we want to point out is it adds so much power to every individual GoldMine user who even has reports shared to them, because they can still, it's not just like a viewer function. It actually gives them the ability to still reorganize, still drill through and interact with GoldMine in important and powerful ways.
Folks, what we're going to do here, we're going to extend this webinar just a bit for those who are interested in sales reporting. We have a few questions that actually are based on doing some forecast sales reports in MasterMine, and Rob is going to bring up one of those reports and show us how those work, what they mean, and why you'd probably want to use MasterMine to do sales forecast reporting. So with that, if your company doesn't use this for sales, you don't have to stick around, but if you have the time, this is probably something you're going to want to see. So Rob, if you want to go ahead and run those, and I will bring up some of these questions as we get into that.
Okay, that's fine. We can actually probably just go with the report, or excuse me, the forecast sale report that I started with here. This is actually forecast and history. Or do you think we'll want to run the template forecast report?
Let me pose one of the questions to you, and you can decide what you want to do.
Okay.
They're asking, how do you add the probability factor to a sales report?
Okay. Well, that's pretty straightforward here. We could just take the probability in this case, and it depends on what you mean by the probability factor. If you want to say, well, only show me the ones that are probability of 50% and above, you might go about it this way by including the probability field in the report, which is just an automatic thing. Whenever you do a sale report in MasterMine, probability is one of the fields that's checked on. So unless you deliberately turn it off, it'll just simply be there. But this would be an example of where we just say, okay, let's just filter in only the ones that are 50% or above. Or maybe what I want to know really is for all of my sales, show me all the probabilities. How does it break down by probability? That's another way of looking at my data. Or maybe grouping them in some useful way. I'll go ahead and turn those on. Maybe say everything that's above 50%, let's show those as one group. I'll group those together. So above 50. And everything that's below 50, put those in another group. And actually, I probably want to eliminate the ones that are 0 probability. So I'll put these ones in a second group and just call this one low probability. And we'll just eliminate the 0 probability one. So there's several different ways that you might show probability. And by the way, this is something I didn't get to as I was showing this, but in context, you can roll up and roll down data inside this report. So again, this may be the layout that you leave this with at the time, when you're done with it. But maybe you decide, the low probability ones, those are all more or less equivalent to me. I'll just roll those up into a single row, and I'll just show the ones that are above 50, but I'll still show the detail on the above 50s. That kind of interactive roll up, roll down is another one of the really big factors in why having interactive reporting like this is just so much more powerful and useful than just kind of dead reporting, where somebody lays something out for you and that's just the way it's laid out and that's the only way you can look at it. Does that sort of?
And go ahead.
No, I was coming back to you.
Okay. Kevin, I've unmuted you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Kevin, go ahead and ask the question. I just want to make sure you can clarify the question you're asking about doing sales reports.
Well, the one that I was interested in, I have one account that may have 4 reps that call them, one for document imaging, another for hardware, one for managed print services. They may have the same contact. Mm-hmm. If I want to look at activity, recent activity, how can I break it down by rep within one account?
So we're talking about a situation where you've got a customer that has multiple, you might have multiple users that have activity within that customer, and you want to see sort of a summary for that customer, what's all the activity that's happened with them?
Or by rep itself, if I want to know the last time, say, Lori contacted any of my accounts or any accounts that she's been assigned to that she's not made contact with.
Ah, okay. So that would be a very different concept, but a really good one for doing with MasterMine. So for example, you want to know, if I kind of restate it, there may be a number of different people who could have contacted Carter Hinckley here, but you want to know specifically which are the, or excuse me, more broadly, which are the contacts that are assigned to Lori that Lori herself has not spoken with.
All right, so you have, at this point, like my database, you've got a rep assigned to that. And that's one thing I've been struggling with is I can only assign one rep to that. I don't know if there's another area where I can put multiple reps to that account and do that too.
You can. You could have multiple fields over here. So you want to be able to, like you've got a customer service rep and a sales rep and that kind of thing?
Well, or one major rep that does for managed print services, another does document imaging.
Right. Okay. Good
Because
example.
there's hardware like copiers.
Right. Okay. So you would just have, you can have any, in GoldMine you can have any number of additional fields over here, and they're just equivalent to this one.
Well, except that we are limited, I think, to 9, and we're using all 9 at this point for report building.
No, you are limited to 999.
Okay.
We can help you with that. And actually, let me just say broadly, just for those who are listening, if this is more of a thing that relates to just GoldMine functionality itself, we can help you with GoldMine functionality to some extent. If you're already working with a GoldMine dealer, I would say talk to that GoldMine dealer. But we can answer questions related to GoldMine itself as well. But I'm sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess the answer to my question then is, as long as I have multiple reps assigned to an account, I then can go through and then by rep find out who hasn't made contact to an account that they've assigned to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Bearing in mind that you need to coordinate, the user under history indicates who actually made the contact. If you've got multiple people assigned up here, that would indicate who the record is assigned to. But in our report, we can make it so that you say, let's look at the last date that, in the case where Lori is let's say the imaging rep, let's do a report of Lori's contacts and only indicate where the contacts that Lori made, and then for somebody else, do only the contacts that somebody else made or didn't make. Yep. That would be a case where you probably want to work with us to really home in on exactly what it is you want to present and make it show in the clearest possible way. That's something that we do all the time with MasterMine users.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Paul, do we have any others that are outstanding there?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all the questions we have regarding this. So.
Okay. So we've gone about 10 minutes over here on our promised half hour for the webinar, but I think it was really good to get those extra questions in there. We only wanted, our aim here is just give you a taste of MasterMine here. You obviously have not seen everything that MasterMine can do, but hopefully it intrigues you enough to think, wow, we could really accomplish an awful lot more with GoldMine if we had this capability both to do reporting and get information out, as well as to really directly hands-on manage the GoldMine data itself. It really should crack open the possibilities for GoldMine for you. We'd love to do one-on-one demos of MasterMine. If you're interested, we'll put up that slide one more time of where to contact us. There's a good chance you can probably expect that as a result of attending our webinar, we will try to call you as well to set up a one-on-one demo with you of MasterMine. Don't feel like you need to buy it right away just because we're calling you up. Just get a look at it. Take the time to learn a little bit more about MasterMine now, so you can make an intelligent decision about whether to follow up and learn more about MasterMine. And we can be very respectful of your own time frames. So I guess I'll say, unless Carnegie wants to come back in here, I'll just say thank you all very much for your time today, and we'll be happy to answer your further questions one-on-one or any other way that works for you.
I think that's about it for the day.
Okay, thanks everybody.